everybody, good morning. Welcome to today's class. Today is Tuesday, December 8th, 2020. Today we are going to begin Unit 4, The Time of Our Lives. Today we are going to learn about different clocks, how to identify time, and how clocks are around the world. So first thing we are going to do is learn about clocks and time. We're going to watch a video about how to tell time on an analog clock.
Whoa, whoa! I am so sorry that you guys caught me sleeping. I know that I shouldn't be sleeping in the middle of the day. I got this awesome new clock, but I don't know how to tell time yet, so I do not know when to go to sleep. Hey, I've got an idea. Maybe you guys can help me. Will you help me learn how to tell time so I know when to go to bed? Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Let's zoom over here to the clocks and learn how to tell time. This first clock we see is an analog clock. This is the new clock I got. To learn time, let's start off with an easier version of this clock. Okay, the little pointer that spins is called a hand. This clock is a training clock and only has one small hand on it. The small hand is called the hour hand. Around the edge of the clock, we have numbers that go from 1 all the way to 12. This small hand tells us what the hour is. Right now, the hour hand is pointing to the 3, so it must be 3 o'clock. Now what hour is it? 6 o'clock, right. Let's look at another. What hour is this? I heard some of you say it is still 6 o'clock, and you are correct. The hour does not change until it is pointing right at the next number. As long as the hand points between the 6 and the 7, it is still 6 o'clock. Let's try one more. Right now the hour hand is between the 11 and the 12. So is this 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock? It is still 11 o'clock. It will not be 12 o'clock until the hour hand points right at the 12. Good job, guys. Now this training clock works great to tell us what hour it is. But what if you have to be home by a certain time in the middle of the hour? It would be difficult to know exactly when to leave with just using the hour hand. That is why we have what we call the minute hand. Let's bring in one of our big kid clocks. This clock has a big hand and a small hand. We already know the small hand tells us the hour, but do you know what this hand does? This long hand is the minute hand. The minute hand tells us how much time has passed after the hour. When telling time, we always look at the hour hand first. On this clock, the hour hand is pointing to the 12, and the minute hand is pointing to the 1. So would we say the time is 12 and 1 minute? I know you might be tempted to say yes, but that is not correct. Each one of these increments are counted by 5s. There are 5 minutes between each of these big numbers. So when the minute hand is at the 1, 5 minutes have passed. So this is 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, 55 minutes, and at the 12, the minutes start back over at 0. So right now, the time is 12:05. The hour hand is at the 12, and the minute hand is pointing at the 1, which is 5 minutes. Let's look at another one. Remember, we first look at the small hand for the hour. It is halfway between the 3 and the 4, so with just the hour hand, we know it is 3 o'clock. Now we look at the minute hand. It is pointing to the 6. Does that mean it is 3 and 6 minutes? No, you are right. We have to count by 5s to get the minutes. Let's count. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 30 minutes. so the time is 3:30. Because the hour is 3, and after counting by 5s, we see that the minute hand is pointing to 30 minutes. Let's do one last one. Can you help me out on this one? Great. Okay, you caught me sleeping earlier because my bedtime is 8 o'clock at night. When I saw the big hand pointing to the 8, I thought it was my bedtime. To get the correct time, we need to look at the hour hand first. What number is the small hour hand pointing to? It is at the 2 still, so the hour is 2. Great job. Now how many minutes have passed? Remember to count by increments of 5. Can you tell me what the minutes are? The minutes are 40, so the time is 2:40. Great job, everyone. Now that I know how to tell time, I will not try to sleep at 2:40 in the afternoon. Thank you so much for your help, guys. Remember to keep practicing and you will get better at this. We'll see you.
Okay, now open your books to page 44. Student book, page 44. Unit 4 is called Time of Our Lives. We're going to watch a video about some things we are going to learn throughout this unit. Okay, now we are going to watch a video about how different parts of the world tell time.
The world tells time in a variety of ways. It has for a long time. How many hours are in a day? Which direction is clockwise? Do days just touch or can they overlap? The way you answer those depends on your culture and your language. Zanzibar, Tanzania. The tallest building when you get off the ferry in Stone Town is a famous local landmark called the House of Wonders. On the top there's this clock that might throw off your sense of time. At noon, when the sun is directly overhead, its hands read 6 o'clock. At 9 a.m. it actually says 3. Strange. But you manage to house your wonders and go enjoy tea with a local friend. Chai time. You notice her watch and ask for the time. She glances down. You're relieved to see her hands read the same time as yours, 10 a.m. But without stopping to think, she nods her head back up to you and says, 4 o'clock. What's going on here? Well, a hint. You're near the equator, where the sun rises around the same time every morning, 6 in the local time zone. Everyone's up and starting their day at 7. With such a reliable natural standard timekeeper, that winds up being 1 o'clock Swahili time. Even though your friend sets her watch normally, like other Swahili speakers, ask her what time it is, and she mentally winds back the hour hand. Watch says one thing, person says another. Here you're surrounded by clocks that read standard time, and people who adjust it to Swahili time. Do not get disoriented, this is normal. Like people around the world, their days are repeating cycles. Swahili time just shifts when the cycle starts. Or maybe you're the shifty one. Well, Swahili time may rotate that circle, but it still splits it into 2 rounds of 12 hours, with each hour striking twice per day. Surely you're aware of one alternative to this, the 24-hour clock, each hour once per day. But have you taken a tour of Italy and seen all the beautiful campanili? I haven't. If you have, did you find any unusual medieval clocks? I hear there remain some 6-hour clocks that still tick on, like this one. But you don't have to take a trip to the past. Go to Thailand, and you'll meet 6-hour time tellers there, too. In the Thai way of keeping time, you count the hours from 1 to 6, 4 times a day. So even a standard 24-hour day around the world might be 1 round of 24 hours, 2 rounds of 12, or 4 rounds of 6 hours. And that's assuming we're using the new kind of hours. Inside an enormous shopping mall in Dubai, there's a huge mechanical elephant clock, a replica of a contraption invented over 800 years ago by Al-Jazari. Want to know one of the biggest hurdles this clock had to overcome? The way hours shrink and grow. An hour isn't always an hour long. See, since ancient times, many people have counted hours of daylight. This Egyptian sundial divides sunlight from sunrise to sunset into 12 segments. But Egypt, like most of the world, and unlike Zanzibar, gets much more light in summer and much less in winter. So the hours on this sundial expand and contract, breathing with the seasons. Technically called temporal hours now, they were once considered the true hours versus today's standard equal hours. Go to Greece and say the word water thief, klepsydra. Nowadays people will think you mean this, an hourglass. Once though, long ago, it meant a water clock. In ancient and medieval times, inventors tinkered tirelessly with these devices, eventually leading to Al-Jazari's sophisticated clocks that could keep up with these changing temporal hours. Side note I find interesting at this point, in many languages the words for day and day, daylight hours, have different roots. In Swahili, siku versus mchana. In Chinese, 2 different characters. In English, however, day is its own hypernym. The first Chinese character there is for 1 full day-night cycle. Traditionally, that was counted in 12 shi, sometimes translated double hours, so only 12 hours total in a day. And since now we know the fancy term, I can say equal hours. But instead of subdividing these hours into minutes, a separate decimal system ran concurrently, splitting the day into hundredths, 100 ke per day. Then you could cut those into smaller fun. Something like that would happen later in the French Revolution. All 3 of these words continue to be used today, fitted onto more modern units, 24 hours, each with 4 quarter hours and 60 minutes. Subtract 1 of those double hours and you're reckoning time the old Nawa way. They divided the daylight day into 4 parts and the night into 7. They also have a different understanding of the word clockwise. So do this, face north. Point to the sun, following it from east to west, counterclockwise. See, circles in this part of the world cycle the other way. Like on the famous sunstone unearthed from the streets of Mexico City, symbols run this direction. Now off to northern India. For ages, the day has been ritually divided into 8 peher. These determine the ceremonial and musical theme of the moment, but they're also practical, which you can still see in the Hindustani word for afternoon. Break it down. It means 2 peher. There are actually many, many smaller and larger units of time. Take the muhurt, of which there are 30 in a day, divisible all the way down to fractions of microseconds. You know who else has 30-hour days? Kind of. In Japan, timekeeping has ditched the unequal hours that once characterized Japanese clocks, which count backwards for 6 temporal hours twice a day. Well, there is this one watchmaker who's crafted a temporal hour watch, but otherwise Japan fully embraces the 12 and 24-hour clock. And they found a way to top it. Apply break time limit. Late night events can stretch to 25 o'clock, 29 o'clock, all the way up to 30. Maybe you feel like if you're up past midnight, it's not tomorrow yet. Not really, and you haven't even gone to bed. The 30-hour clock taps into that sentiment with the interesting result that the last 6 hours of the day overlap with what will have been the technical start of your 24-hour day when you wake up tomorrow. To close this out, let's circle back once more to Africa, but a very different place. In Ile-Ife, I'm told there is an old sundial with a circle divided into 16 segments. But even though the Yoruba language natively has plenty of numerals up into the millions, you won't catch this farmer rigidly using the numbers 1 to 16 to talk about time. Instead, he knows the names of birds that routinely cry out at the same moment every day. See, in many languages, the time you tell isn't merely a number. The sun, the moon, beasts, and sequences of human events help keep natural time. Thanks for getting wound up about linguistic clocks with me. Thanks to patrons for supporting this. I hope you enjoy the background sketches, seeing your names in the outro, and the other rewards I enjoyed preparing. And thank you for sticking around for language.
Okay, so when we are telling time, we have some key words. We have the word quarter, which means 15 minutes. We have the word half, which means 30 minutes. The word past means after. To means before. Number 1, 6:45. We are going to write the digital form of these sentences. So number 1 says 6:45, which means 6:45. Number 2, 12:30 means 12:30. 3 minutes to 6, which means 5:57. 8:09, which means 9:08. And 10 minutes to 3, which means 2:50. Next activity, warm-up quiz. You are going to investigate the answers to each of these sentences. Number 1, name 3 countries in South America. Number 2, what's the capital of Colombia? Number 3, what is the Candelaria? Number 4, name a famous river in South America. And number 5, what's the weather like in the rainforest? So the answer to number 1 we found was Ecuador, Argentina, Peru, and there are other countries that you can write. The capital of Colombia is Bogota. The Candelaria is the 17th locality of Bogota. A famous river in the South America would be the Amazon River, the Panama River, and others. The weather in the rainforest is a tropical weather. Next activity, you are going to write 5 sentences to explain your favorite story. And then we are going to read them tomorrow so everybody else can guess the story. For example, my favorite story is setting is a school in England. The characters are Harry, Ron, and Hermione. The school they go to is called Hogwarts. They use wands. What story do you think it is? Correct. My favorite story is Harry Potter. So now you guys are going to write 5 sentences to explain your favorite story. It has to be a real story. It can be a story, a movie, a cartoon. And then tomorrow's class, we are going to read them to the class, and everybody will try and guess what your favorite story is. For homework, you are going to read a story called Day and Night, and then you are going to answer the comprehension questions. That's it for today, guys. Have a good day. See you tomorrow. Bye.